The Checkpoint is presented by GM Pharma, the first international multinational pharmaceutical company in Georgia. GM Pharma, to serve those who need it most.
The estimated real GDP growth rate in February 2022 amounted to 14.6% year-on-year, and the average real GDP growth for January-February 2022 equaled 16.3% year-on-year, showed the preliminary data from the National Statistics Office of Georgia. According to Geostat, in February 2022, the estimated real growth compared to the same period of the previous year was observed in the following activities: manufacturing, transportation and storage, electricity, gas, steam and air conditioning supply, hotels and restaurants, real estate activities, arts, entertainment and recreation, and mining and quarrying. An agreement on the construction of a 17-kilometer, 4-lane access-controlled highway in Kakheti was signed between the Georgian Finance Minister Lasha Khutsishvili and the World Bank Regional Director for the South Caucasus, Sebastian Molenius. According to the Ministry of Finance, a 97.7 million euro deal will finance the construction of road junctions, bridges, freeways and overpasses, underpasses and roadside sections along with the highway. The Monetary Policy Committee of the National Bank of Georgia decided to increase the refinancing rate by 0.5 percentage points. The monetary policy rate is 11%. Now, the recent developments, in particular Russia's invasion in Ukraine and the resulting full-scale war, have posed new challenges to the world economy that was still in the phase of post-pandemic recovery. The intensified inflationary risks amid a new shock have on a world scale slowed the projected pace of decline of already high global inflation. Georgia had an annual inflation of 13.7% in February. Reduction of inflation is expected from March, mainly related to the elimination of the base effect of subsidy of utility bills. However, without the new shock, this reduction would have been much larger, reads an official statement. The National Bank of Georgia predicted that the Georgian economy would increase by 5% in 2022. However, from the current perspective, the growth rate would be in the range of 3–4%. This is the Checkpoints, and I'm Elena Guangelashvili, and we're ready to start. Ukraine has already lost more than $560 billion as a result of Russia's month-long invasion of the Eastern European country, a top Ukrainian government official said on Monday, according to reports. The $564.9 billion figure in losses includes $119 billion in destroyed infrastructure, Ukraine's economy minister Yulia Sviridenko said in a Facebook post. Every day the numbers change, and unfortunately they are increasing, Sviridenko warned in the post, according to translation by NBC News. Sviridenko said that Ukraine's $564.9 billion in losses due to the war come from damage to infrastructure and economic downturn, according to NBC News. The official said that Ukraine would seek compensation from the aggressor through court decisions and by transferring to our state frozen assets of Russia. NBC News reported evil will inevitably be punished and Russia will feel the full weight of its own criminal actions on the territory of Ukraine, Sviridenko said, according to the news outlet. Russian President Vladimir Putin launched Russia's war against Ukraine on February 24. In the weeks since the invasion, Russian troops have surrounded and shelled several towns across the country, hitting multiple civilian buildings, including residential towers, hospitals, and the theater, Business Insider reports.
Was a simple verb, merely a part of speech used in everyday life. But it's not that simple for us, because now the everyday Ukrainians simply cannot say was without bursting into tears. This was my home. This was my friend. This was my dog. This was my car. This was my job. And this was my father. And this was my daughter. The millions and millions of fresh wounds are bleeding with that wounds. Russia has drowned Ukraine in tears and blood and children corpses. But there is one thing Russia doesn't get. Was is the word that describes its life. And we Ukrainians already know what will come next. We will win. And there will be new houses. There will be new cities. There will be new dreams. There will be a new story. There will be, there's no doubt. And those we've lost will be remembered. And we will sing again. And we will celebrate anew. Yes, Ukraine was beautiful. But now it will become great, great Ukraine.
Slava Ukraini. And back to Georgia, we have high hopes and expectations that in such a complex environment, Georgia will carefully try not to become a place for black hole for doing business. This statement of the Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of France to Georgia, Diego Colas, that he said at the joint sitting of the parliamentary committees on foreign relations and European integration, set off alarm in Georgia's civil society, and not only. We understand very well that Georgia feels vulnerable and takes careful action. Up to this point, Georgia has proved with its words and actions the desire to play an important role in this collective effort. We also have high hopes and expectations that in such a complex environment, Georgia will carefully try not to become a black hole place for doing business like Tajikistan, Diego Colas said. Before that, businessman Revaz Bashakidze told BMG that he was worried about Georgia's perspective of becoming a road for Russia to avoid international sanctions, considering risks coming from both transit and other directions. Revaz Bashakidze said Georgia should consider setting up a special commission with Georgia, Ukraine, US and EU representatives to monitor Georgia's adherence to international sanctions. We also heard a clear message from the US ambassador to Georgia, Kelly Degnan. She declared that the sanctions are intended to influence Russia's behavior and no one is asking Georgia's government to come up with bilateral sanctions. According to Kelly Degnan, every country expects that Georgia has always been a good partner in complying with international sanctions. In 2008, it's important to remember there was $1 billion in support allocated to Georgia, and there has been considerable investment by my country and other countries in helping Georgia strengthen its deterrence capabilities. The Georgia Defense Forces are quite a bit stronger than in 2008 as a result of the strong security cooperation and partnership that Georgia has with the US and other friends of Georgia, Kelly Degnan said, adding that in this situation now what is really important is that we all show a unified front to this Russian aggression that is killing thousands of Ukrainian civilians and devastating Ukrainian towns. According to the US ambassador, the sanctions are intended to influence Russia's behavior. Kelly Degnan highlighted by saying, I would just say clearly that no one is asking Georgia's government to come up with bilateral sanctions if they don't want to, if that's not what they've decided they should do. Bilateral sanctions are for Georgia's government to decide, Kelly Degnan emphasized. What is expected of every country, my country and every country that is standing against this Russian aggression, is that there will be compliance with the international sanctions regime. And Georgia has always been a good partner in complying with international sanctions, whether against Iran or other countries that are working against the interests of countries like Georgia and the US and all of our countries that believe in freedom and stability and security. The US ambassador to Georgia, Kelly Degnan, said. What are the reasons for such an alarmed position on Georgia's joining international sanctions? The statements that have been repeatedly coming from the members of the Georgian government and the ruling party that, quote, Georgia will never join the sanctions. This statement has already been liked and appreciated by Russia. First, Georgia was taken out of Russia's blacklist, which the United States Putin calls it hostile countries. And second, just a week ago, Grigory Karasin said Russia monitors Georgia's favorable attitude towards not joining international sanctions, and that, quote, it would not go unnoticed. What does all of this mean to Georgia? And before we turn to our interview with the Executive Director of EPRC, Nino Evgenidze, let me just briefly remind you of another statement that came from the U.S. Ambassador to Georgia, Kelly Degnan. In one of her interviews with media, Kelly Degnan said that now there is a wonderful period for huge opportunities, and Georgia must immediately implement the necessary reforms to reach its Euro-Atlantic aspirations. NATO is an alliance based on common values. Both Ukraine and Georgia share these values: a commitment to freedom, respect for human rights and territorial integrity. A country like Georgia, which has experienced the 2008 invasion and 20% of its country is occupied by Russian troops, knows this well. Now, in the time of implement the reforms and take the steps needed to ensure Georgia's military readiness, the United States stands by Georgia in reaching the goal of NATO membership. This is a huge opportunity for Georgia, and there is no time to lose it, Kelly Degnan said. EPRC has long been publishing a number of studies on how NATO membership can boost not only the security of our country, but its overall economic well-being as well. Nino Evgenidze joined me in a sit-down interview. Nino, thank you for your time, and thank you for hosting us in this nice environment. We heard a number of statements from key diplomats, French ambassador and also the US ambassador, and all these statements are in the context of sanctions, whether Georgia is going to adhere to the international sanctions. And from the French ambassador, we heard the phrase, Georgia should not become a black hole for doing business. What indications do these statements give you in where Georgia is perceived to be standing in this Russia's war in Ukraine?
Thanks a lot having me. And I think the war, what is going right now in Ukraine, it's not just only war where the only Ukrainians are fighting for their lands. I believe that they're fighting for our and their freedoms as well, and we should say that whatever it takes, as long as it takes, we should stand for freedom, and we stand with Ukraine. And if we realize and understand and to agree with the fact that it's not only the war between two countries, but it's a war between the free world and the authoritarian oligarchic dictatorship, then the issue which pops up immediately was Georgia stands. And everybody knows that in 2008, Georgia was the first victim of this authoritarian Russian Putin's regime's attack, because they don't want no one to seeing in their neighborhood doing or performing better or doing better reforms or are standing together with the European and the Western family. And the war, why he started the war in Georgia and the Ukraine, just to put this iron curtain in the Black Sea and having these countries as a sphere of influence, and with that to attacking against the rest of the liberal world. And with this, if we look to the picture, what is going right now, all civilized world put the sanctions against the Putin's regime and the Russia, and the Georgian government in the same time saying that they're not joining any economic or any kind of sanctions.
But do you understand what that means? Because that's what I have been thinking for a long time. What does that sentence mean? We're not joining international sanctions when we are, in fact, right? If
yes,
you
of course.
look at it right now, fortunately, we are joining the sanctions. Then why say it this way?
Unfortunately, you mentioned and you were referring the international and foreign ambassadors here in this country, and I'm pretty sure the reason why these question marks comes against the Georgian current government, because I still believe that their policy to having the differentiating, for example, people from Russia who are entering this country, the like anti-Putinist or people who are fighting against the Putin, they're not allowing them to enter to the country, and for the like a pro-Putinist or maybe even some oligarchs, they are allowed to come to this country, and like, you know, they're not refugees even, because they just like trying to just to flee from their country, just to having here the another like a comfort zone for their maneuvers. And I still believe that this warning from the international organizations was because they have some like you know the evidence why they're putting this like in publicly saying this kind of statements, because I believe that if you look to the statements what the Prime Minister and some other economic like from the team of economic team their statements, it does not comply with the international law what is going right now against the Putin's regime, because all like a civilized world is joining the sanctions, and Georgia cannot be again the backyard or the back door to avoid for Russia the sanctions.
What is the logic behind that? I mean, why isn't Georgia as scared of, for example, Western sanctions against Georgia? Because that was a slight warning in the U.S. ambassador's words that, you know, any country that will not comply with the international sanctions, then there will be a response to it, right?
I myself and my organization the last few years were underlining these issues that, you know, there is no such like, you know, the Western oligarchs, even this world, what does it mean? No one can explain, because there is no such, such meaning of this world, because the oligarchy is a very totalitarian, pro-Russian, pro-Putin phenomena, which means that this kind of business groups, it's a 21st century business models, when this kind of like oligarchs who are close to the the ruling like elites, and so they're just trying their best to capture the state. And what we are facing right now here in this country is like in my understanding, in my opinion, it's a state capture, and it's not only my opinion. Many international organizations are like saying this. And on this regard, you know, for myself, this kind of current statements of the Georgian government is, and as I understand, it's a collaborative language. And why I'm saying this, because all these like maneuvers and actions, what they're right now doing, it totally goes to the Putin's like agenda. And even like yesterday and day before yesterday, there were a lot of statements and TV shows in Russian TV were saying, "Oh, look at Georgia, look at Georgia,"
statement.
And the Karasin statement. That,
listening to what is your stance on international sanctions? It will not go unnoticed. Quote.
Which again means, you know, that this is a threat. And I'm pretty sure, unfortunately, this current Georgian government is not going to be able to prepare Georgia for the European membership or NATO membership. And even their statements last, like, you know, that the general secretary of the NATO, he told that we're waiting confirmation from the Georgian government if they are ready to get the assistance from the NATO to strengthening their, like, you know, the defense capabilities. And so, I mean, all this makes a very clear picture to myself and many people in this country that unfortunately very soon, if Georgian government is not going to hear all these messages, which our strategic partners and foreign diplomats are just getting them, then we're going to, as a country, we're going to face very serious sanctions, and it's going to affect of the ordinary Georgian people's life. And this is a main problem. Otherwise, I mean, everybody knows that the economic consequences, what is going in the world, is going to be affect on Georgia as well, because one of our trade partners, not one, but two of our main trade partners are in having the war, and it's going to affect us for sure. But still, if we're not going to stand right now with the Western world and the Western society and the Western liberal democracies, then we're not going to able to get the international assistance to overcome this crisis, whatever right now we have, which comes not only this a war in Ukraine, but also, in my understanding, unbelievable Georgian government's economy policy, which they were implementing last 8 or 9 years here in this country.
Even if the reason or the logic behind this, we don't want a war, do these indications mean anything? For example, do Grigory Karasin's words, it will not go unnoticed, mean anything in this situation? Do these appraisals from the Russia side mean anything when it comes to Russia's decision to invade Georgia if it needs at some point?
I mean, all civilized world is agreed that Vladimir Putin's promise or word doesn't mean anything, and I don't think that Grigory Karasin or someone else can make better the promises to this country. And I mean, of course, realistically, it's a danger for our country as well, but to having this in 40 kilometers the occupation line here in this country, of course, but this doesn't mean that we should be in a close collaboration with the Putin's regime, because for the many centuries these people and this country, I mean the Georgia, were fighting for their freedom and independence, and I'm pretty sure that this fight is not for only the fight for this generation, but it's going to be continue forever. And what is going right now in the world, it proves again that to defending the freedom is it's everyday job, each of us.
Exactly, especially in these days when everything is black and white.
Yeah,
right? Yes.
There is no somewhere in a colorful world, unfortunately.
Also, there is one initiative that I would like to share with you and hear your thoughts on that. And just a week ago, we were talking to the businessman Revaz Vashakidze, and he said that why not set up a commission that would do exactly this, monitor how Georgia is adhering to international sanctions. And according to him, this commission could include Georgian side, Ukrainian side, European Union side, and the US side. I mean, the logic is clear, two big players on the West Front, Georgians and Ukrainians. What would be your take on that?
Yeah, a few days ago there was an initiative, and I listened to President Vladimir Zelensky, who mentioned that it's going to be the monitoring from their side how the other kind of countries are in compliance with the sanctions which European Union and the United States are implementing together with the free world. And I still believe that there is a lot of the instruments in foreign and our foreign international strategic partners' hands, and European Union and United States can very closely looking to this, what is going right now. And there is investigative journalists or free journalists like yourself, and I mean, it's so easy to investigate this kind of the cases, because they cannot hide from these sanctions, and they cannot avoid the sanctions. All these people and all these companies and the country itself, it's going to be put under the highest risk, which means the sanctions from the free world. And if you look to what is going and who are your main trade partners, and a lot of Georgian companies are exporting to the European markets, and even not only from the export point, but also the import when you are importing something. It's also very important to having these connections to, and to providing your people all these important goods and services in this country. And I still believe that the pressure from the international and our strategic partners will be very clear and very strict, and hope that the Georgian government will get this message properly.
Yes, and my last question: if any business decides to use this whole as, for example, I don't know, maybe thinking, this is the opportunity to make more money, what kind of reputational, not to talk about sanctions or anything, but what type of reputational label that would be for that business from the free world?
How it's possible if the businesses themselves, can wants to having the financial transactions in which a currency they're gonna having these financial transactions in Russian rubles, and how they're gonna to proceed with these Russian rubles later. Are there planning to establish some museum for this kind of the Russian banknotes, or otherwise? I don't see any pragmatic or the business-wise the logic behind this, if it's not collaboration with the Putin's regime, and if it's not just making your country under very difficult and very strict sanctions from the international organizations.
Thank you so much for these clear answers.
Thank you.
Yes, definitely not a black hole for doing business. Moreover, Georgia has always had this reputation of the country with the best practice and ease of doing business. First, the pandemic, and now Putin's war in Ukraine have become a very tough burden for Georgia's business environment, to say the least. However, good things still happen, and what seems a second life of Gino Paradise, one of the most demanded places in Tbilisi in summer especially, is definitely one of those good things. Georgi Sakadze knows more, and he will be updating us on the new investment flowing into Paradise. Hello, Georgi. Thank you for working hard for the checkpoints. I know you have had very interesting conversations with the new investors of Gino Paradise. Please tell us more.
Hello, Elena. My greetings, viewers and followers of Forbes and BMG. It's my pleasure again to send some exclusive, actually I do not like exclusive, even within the media, but exclusive information and interview what we have for this week. It's really important, and during this quite difficult and unprecedented period, Georgian hospitality industry is not just welcomed, but also entered on the base of MOU, mutual partnership with Gino Holding, owned by Dr. Nodor Georgadze, quite famous Georgian investor, also located in Slovakia. And it's my pleasure to introduce you Bahrain Group, very famous, #1, which is called the Gulf Hotels Group. And I had a pleasure to interview the CEO of this group, Mr. Garfield Jones. And our office was visited by Mr. Mohammed Bouzuzi. Mr. Mohammed is former CEO of this group, and at the same time, right today, he is a board member and advisor to the chairman. Yes, we will definitely have the interview with Mr. Chairman, but so far, it's my pleasure, Elena, to share with you and our viewers and followers the interviews with this following gentleman. The intro is not needed because the press conference has been held. The MOU is signed already with Gino Group, Gino Paradise Group and Holding, and with Dubai Hotels Group. The press conference was held. I mean, all the protocols have been taken. Now, let's see and let's listen to their plans. Why they enter Georgian market, hospitality market during this period. So, Sir Garfield, Mr. Jones.
Call me Garfield.
I will. Thank you so much for being with us. It's great to host you.
Thank you
in our
for
studio.
inviting me.
So, you've joined the Gulf Hotel team in 1995.
1995, yeah, it's a lifetime ago, isn't it?
27 years.
It is, yeah, 27 years. You know, I joined initially as a food and beverage manager, working in the Gulf
That was the
Hotel.
beginning.
That was the beginning. Food
Yeah.
and beverage manager in the Gulf Hotel. When the Gulf Hotel had, at that time, I think, 4 restaurants. You know, today, 10 restaurants, huge convention center. And here I am in the position of CEO.
You know why 27 years, it's not just lifetime. You are maybe the best archivarius of the company itself. Can you tell me a bit more about the company which is entering the
Well,
Georgian
Gulf Hotels Group's a public company in
Okay.
Bahrain. So we're on the stock exchange. Was initially founded in 1967, and the first hotel, which was the Gulf Hotel, opened up in 1969. At that time, 120 bedrooms only, with the 2 restaurants, and basically the core. That's the sort of the core hotel, which has continued to expand over the years, and indeed so has the group. So, you know, the hotel now. 361 rooms plus 97 apartments plus a huge convention center, spa, 10 restaurants. It's a huge complex, and the company expanded. You know, we've now got operations in Bahrain, in the UAE, in Sri Lanka, in Tanzania, in Zanzibar, a lovely property, beachfront property in Zanzibar, and very shortly into Georgia as well.
So it's already a regional one. Can you consider the company, which is Bahrain Stock Exchange listed, as a regional player already?
It most definitely is a regional player, and I think you know we of course in Bahrain itself we have 6 or 7 units in the country itself, and now we've expanded outside, and yeah, definitely a regional player.
Tell me about. Well, I've read the chairman's note
Yes.
sent to Forbes regarding the activities planned in Georgia. At the same time, the board is represented by distinguished and well-known business personalities.
Indeed.
At the same time, my question is when, why, and how Georgia was chosen as a next milestone for your group?
I think we have been looking now for some time to expand our brand, particularly into European market. So we've been on the lookout. We've travelled to various countries, and then the opportunity came up. I think Dr. Nodari, who's our business partner here, has a hotel that he's developing on the outskirts of Tbilisi there, next to Tbilisi Revenue, next to Gino Paradise Water Park. So we were introduced.
But under your management, sorry Garfield for interruption, will definitely be whole complex.
So the whole complex,
including Gino Paradise,
including
spa and all
the water park, the wellness center, the health center, everything will come under the one management. So we were fortunate enough to be introduced to Dr. Nodari by a very influential individual named Mr. Shalva.
We do not say surname not to spoil the situation by Mr. Alaverdashvili.
Absolutely. He introduced us to Dr. Nodari, and I think we had various discussions in terms of what we as a company can bring, to his organization and to his project that he's got, and ultimately, what we will aim to do is, bring an international standard of hotel keeping. We already have, strong connections with lots of European tour operators travel agents, etc., from our properties in Bahrain, in UAE, and in Zanzibar. So we'll be aiming to bring those, into Georgia, diversify our business, and basically fill up his hotel.
Okay, is it your first trip to Georgia, and how well do you know this market?
It's not my first trip to Georgia, although I certainly will never confess to be an expert in the Georgia market.
Anyway.
I think, from our side, of course, our aim will be to employ, a mixture of international hoteliers, people who, know the international market, along with, various individuals who understand very well the local market, and that gives you a good balance in terms of how you.
But at the same time, it's the first time when Garfield, you personally, with other team members, are having constant meetings with Georgian officials and business representatives. Am I right?
Certainly, you're right, yes.
And this is all due to the 1st of April memorandum, MOU, which is going to be signed.
Yes, indeed. Our chairman arrives on Thursday, and on Friday we have the sign-in ceremony and a little press conference, and to officially launch the project. Although we've started working on it some weeks back, although officially we haven't yet signed the contract.
Launching is just ahead in a few days.
In a few days' time, yeah.
I will definitely have a chance to chat and speak with you publicly once more.
I look forward to that, and of course our chairman will be there, and our board of directors will be there, or some of our board of directors will be there. So
we'll get some engagement with them as well.
Indeed, and they'll tell you a lot more about the company, I'm sure.
Thank you so much, Garfield, for being with us.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Nice to talk to you.
Mr. Bouazizi, I want to mention that it's honor and pleasure at the same time hosting you in Forbes Georgia office.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity, and I am honored, and I'm very happy and pleased to be here.
Thank you so much. Tell us about your story, about your engagement with Gulf Hotels Group.
It began in 1971. If I tell you the story, it is too long, but in a brief, a friend of mine said my cousin is going to open a hotel in Bahrain, and why you don't talk to him? So by the time they opened the hotel, that was for Hilton Hotel.
It's the first one.
Yes. By the time they open Hilton, they will have enough time to train you.
Whoa.
I said, that's a good idea, but I know nothing about hotel. In those days, I was a school teacher. He said, well, we have enough time.
Yes.
I said, before I attend an interview, how can I learn about hotel?
Hospitality business in general.
Exactly. So when I go and talk, what the hell I'm going to talk about? I don't know. So I called the general manager of Gulf Hotels office, secretary, and asked for an appointment. So when the interview is over, he said to me, in which newspaper you are going to publish this interview?
And your answer was?
I said, sir, what newspaper? He said, you are interviewing me for what? I said, I'm interviewing you for myself, to learn about the hotel industry. He said, you wasted 1.5 hours for my time for yourself? I said, I'm sorry, but she did not ask me if I am a journalist or not. Now you tell me, why this interview? I said, the truth. A friend of mine.
You told the purpose why you were there, yeah?
From the Ishaq family is planning to bring Hilton, and I want to attend an interview, but I have to learn something about the hotel. That's why I call on you. He said, "Send off again." He said, "As well, you are putting rules?" I said, no, I'm not putting any rules, but I'm just saying it." He said, "We are sending Bahrainis to study in England, catering and hotel management in Brighton. So here we come, got the chance to have a scholarship, went to Brighton in England since 1971 until today. I used to work at the hotel. I started as a student until I reached the top helm, Chief Executive Officer.
Mr. Bouzouzi, what is Gulf Hotels Group for at least last 3 decades, while you were finalizing your job as a CEO and transforming as a board member and advisor to the chairman? How it has been transformed and progressed, let me say so.
In short, we started the Gulf Hotel with 125 rooms. Today, the Gulf Hotel, as a hotel, the tower and the south wing, 364 rooms with 101 hotel apartments. I'm talking about the compound where the hotel located. And the largest convention center attached to a single hotel in Bahrain that can accommodate 2,000 over for reception and cocktails and whatever, and 1,005 to 1,008 and sit down. And the only hotel in Bahrain that have 10 authentic various restaurants, be it international cuisine, Italian, Japanese, Indian, fusion, Thai, Mexican, Iranian. Any taste we will satisfy for the customer and the guest. And then we built another apartment hotel outside, and we bought another hotel in Dubai, Gulf Court Hotel, all under Gulf Hotel umbrella. Add to that 2 hotels in Bahrain we manage, Gulf Hotel Management, and one in Zanzibar, and Zanzibar also, and hopefully the 4th one coming in Tbilisi, which we are really looking forward to that.
So, my hopes and my idea of meeting you was on the same page. Tell me the day when you, as a board member and as a part of this business group, learned about Georgia, about the possibility entering Georgian Tbilisi hospitality market. How that happened?
We did not learn. I approached a friend.
Okay.
Here in Georgia, Victor. I said, "Victor, I see many Gulf people coming to Georgia. And I heard lifestyle is reasonable, good lifestyle, not too far from the Gulf countries, nice, clean, green, affordable." I said, I am keen as a hotelier working for the Gulf Hotel, responsible for business development, to explore the opportunities that you have, and maybe I am lucky to find a hotel to manage for the Gulf Hotel Group. He said, "Okay, I'll do my homework," and he did do his homework. Good old son Victor. We agreed. I came to visit him in Tbilisi, and he introduced me to few hotels, 4-star, smaller than what we were lucky for. And among the people he introduced me, he said, "I must introduce you to the the man that on the top of the helm for the hotel and the hospitality in Georgia. Our friend.
And it was Shalva?
And it was Shalva. So that's the day I met that man, and my life is in a mess.
In Georgian mess, finally. And that was the key talk points with Dr. Nodar Giorgadze.
Yes.
My last question is about your vision in regards of the resort which is going to be taken under the management of Gulf Hotel Resorts. How do you see it? I know that, and everybody knows that it's four-star hotel complex. At the same time, Gulf Group is offering 5-star service to it. How does it match and how it will go, please?
Well, the beauty here, our standard of service is 5-star. Though the rest of the ranking hotels that we have in our portfolio are 4-star. But the style of service we offer at the Gulf Hotel Bahrain, which is 5-star, will be implemented in Tbilisi 4-star building. 4-star maybe room facilities, but 5-star service. I tell you, something we are very proud of as a single hotel in Bahrain. We are not international chain. We do not have the backing and the support of international chain reservation system. We don't have the political support to gain and secure majority of government business. And yet, the Gulf Hotel as an individual hotel beating and competing with the top line
international brands.
Hotel chains. So that will be implemented in Georgia. And it will be, hopefully, fingers crossed, it will be the hotel talked about, not only as a hotel and rooms, but our aim to introduce a strong, tasty food and beverage outlets, to offer the Georgian a new taste of food, the variety of food, though the space is limited to have 2 restaurants. One will be all-day dining, and one will be our plan to have Lebanese, authentic Lebanese. But yet, every now and then, hopefully, with the management, we will run different food weeks where we bring the taste from those restaurants at home to Georgia, and hopefully be the Mecca for the Georgians in Tbilisi.
Thank you so much and good luck. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, sir. I look forward. And thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you.
Georgi and I may have different dislocations during the week, but one place where we intersect several times is definitely Forbes, Georgia. This time we have gathered in the studio to tell you about the list that Forbes Georgia has pulled together and which is constantly updating. This is the list of Georgia's businesses who stand united for Ukraine, and the motivation here is the only to be continued.
So, what do we have so far? I mean, from the end of February, most of the Georgian companies and industries are involved.
Supporting Ukrainian.
Yeah, and what can we definitely update so far? Pharmacy and medical companies were like the first among those who granted and got really very much active. I mean, the association, I was just today engaged by the association which unites most of the Georgian pharmaceutical companies, and they updated me that their members, I mean the biggest Georgian companies like AVEX and others. They are doing more and more every day, sending a lot of medicals. What we see, it was from the very beginning, Pharma Depot, GPC, it was, all the networking, what we have like Aversi and others, David Tatishvili, Clinic, Pineo, Vivamedi, AVEX, what we have mentioned already, they are involved, and at the same time sending not just support, they're sending concrete aids, which was sent through the Red Cross organization, as far as I know.
Yes. What caught my eye today when I was looking at this list of sectors and the players within these sectors is that, there are sectors that came out, that started to come out of one crisis, and then they were faced by another crisis. Like we have been talking a lot about the construction sector this week, last week, because there are precise problems that this sector is facing today, and we still see main players who are giving the most liquid active nowadays, and that's money. And we see Arki, we see BK Construction, White Square, Anagi Group. We see associations involved, like the Infrastructure Association is here. Yes, so that's also that kind of solidarity that you like very much these days. That
while having the list of them and putting them on the top, let's say also that it's huge Alliance Group, which was also a part of Ukrainian market as well. It's company, Georgian company Modus. It's as you have mentioned, again through the Red Cross, the activity was supported by the Charts Initiative for Ukraine.g. And all the companies, Georgian companies, from the same industry, what as Elena just mentioned, it's still development, that it's construction, it's Dagi, Energoni, NCC, INSI, Steelhouse, Dika, GRC Atlas Group, Prime Concrete, Hydrodiagnostics, Spets Hydromsheni, there are a lot, and they just united to send and donated more and more funds as much as we can.
Yes. Also looking at sectors here, banking and financial sector is also to be mentioned, because this is the sector where we do not have any questions whether Georgia is joining the international sanctions or not, because of this sector as well.
Yeah, absolutely clear situations there, without no doubt.
Yeah, no questions there, and that's also great. And we see the main players, almost all the systemic banks, TBC.
You have the figures,
Bank of Georgia, yes. Here I'm looking here. Also micro financial, institutions, Credo, MBC. Here we see Liberty Bank,
TBC Pasha.
Yes. Terra Bank is here, RD is here also, and they are also supporting and
providing as a health insurance to locals. It's worth to mention that also small financial companies and institutions like microfinance institutions are also involved in this. I really want to move to another sector, which is at the same time mostly known for our Ukrainians. Maybe it's hospitality and entertainment industry, including Georgian restaurants, which were all like, they provided, maybe all of them just provided this free vouchers for local Ukrainians, whoever is here, just for free entrance, free meals and things like that. Georgia hotels have shown absolutely great care towards the Ukrainian people, offering them to stay free of charge in the hotels like Holiday Inn, Iberia Inn, Sairme Hotels Resorts, Orbeliani, Folk Boutique Garden, Hotel Tbilisi Central. So it is happening, and it's permanent. You know, it still goes on.
Yes, it's updated all the time, and probably I was kind of like, you know, these people, these businesses are approaching us and giving this information to us, and you can see how they are engaged with Forbes Georgia in this direction. I have been sending like almost every minute some kind of email that comes with new support, with new businesses. And
yeah, by the way, fantastic reminder from Elena. For our viewers and followers from business industries, we're not saying that it's a final version what we have right now, because it is constantly updating. As Elena has mentioned, we're receiving permanent mails while updating about participation on behalf of Georgian businesses in this, and also we have a lot of information through Georgian media sources, which were also involved, making special shows. I mean, I know it was like together with Red Cross, Georgian Public Broadcasting was running charity marathon. Our colleagues from Formula TV organized various times. They also opened a special bank account for transferring money, and they donated more than 500,000 Georgian lari, as far as I remember. Nanuka show from Tavari Arhi also donated 800,000 Georgian lari. Also to, and it was launched through the Ukrainian channel, Ukraine 24, and we also have participation of telecommunication and IT companies, while mentioning Georgian media sources, and we have 3 huge big players on the market, and all of them, it's Silknet, it's Georgian Beeline, and Makti.
Also, which is also very important University of Georgia, which gave 1 million Georgian lari to Ukraine, and also Kutaisi International University, and we know that almost all the state universities are also involved in this, and trying to bring in professors who are affected there, students who are affected there, working with different agencies, and so yes, it is really an unprecedented solidarity that we see towards Ukraine, and also like some industries, you know, you would think they would stay ostracized from politics. For example, fashion industry, you know, and they are also very much engaged. Yes, for example, ICR contributed 2% of its total revenue in March to Ukraine, which is also something to note.
I also want our viewers and followers to be aware. You should learn that Georgian wine companies, they are not only for wine producing, and we are not only as consumers of these wonderful Georgian wines. They are donating much and contributing. It's I don't know, I don't want to miss anybody. It's KTV Georgia, from the KTV Georgia, all of them. I mean, whole retail industry of Georgia is involved and is a part of it, and it's at least minimum was 50,000 Georgian lari, which was donated and transferred to Ukraine. It was all other major networks and magazines or retail or wholesale chains which are presented in Georgia. Also local coffee production, good friends of ours, Miyama,
Yeah. Also, what I like, Georgi, sorry for interrupting, is that our viewers and followers know that we have this rubric in the checkpoints that's made in Georgia, and I'm so happy to see that almost all the businesses we have showcased in the checkpoints, including like Gefferini, like Spillo, like Alter Socks, they are also contributing and they are also involved in this support campaign, and it's so nice to see that.
It's automotive dealership, it's delivery services, it's logistics, ladies and gentlemen, it's business associations, energy sector, all of them. And we've decided together with Elena that we will keep updating you on the weekly basis about this, and just not to remain only on local news. I want you to be in charge that we're on direct and quite tight connections with our Ukrainian colleagues, so it's going to be my exclusive pleasure to present you the interview, what we just recorded a few days ago with Valeria Ionana. Valeria is Deputy Minister of Digital Transformation Ministry. She's covering various directions, especially EU. And by the way, we didn't talk about Georgian contribution in this regards, but you will hear definitely much more about this.
So I think it's time to say goodbye for today to our viewers and the followers, and here's what the minister.
She is Deputy Minister, Deputy Minister of Digital Transformation.
Has to say, listen, support Ukraine, and I think the West will win this war.
Valeria, thank you so much for your time, for this quick catching up. I know how hard and difficult it is for you to find in this terrible routine a few minutes to talk with the Forbes audience. So I hope you're safe, your family is safe, and friends. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Please tell me, I really want to begin a bit from the early period. I know it's going to be rather difficult for you right now emotionally to remember this period maybe, but at the same time, maybe for some period during this interview, you will brief our viewers and followers about the purpose of the establishment of the ministry, where you are presented as a deputy minister. So tell us about the purpose and the aim, why it was established, what was the team, what were the aims, etc., and things like that.
Yeah, thank you. So as you have mentioned, the Ministry of Digital Transformation of Ukraine is a new ministry. The ministry was established 2.5 years ago. And before the war, we were about very fast pace. We do have a philosophy in our ministry. We want to transform people's lives, institutions, and businesses for better with the help of digital technology. And for these 2.5 years, we have done lots of impressive reforms. We were working on, state in a smartphone, which is the presidential project. And I think that our ministry was successful in presenting a completely new and modern vision for Ukraine. So we had 4 strategic goals for the ministry, which were the first one, to make 100% of public services online. The second one is to cover all of the country with an access to the internet. Then to teach 6 million of Ukrainian people with digital literacy skills. And the fourth goal is to increase the level of IT in GDP of Ukraine up to 10%. And to achieve those goals, we have established an ecosystem of national projects, which is called DIA. By the way, DIA in Ukrainian means action. And yes, and DIA means action. And it's also an acronym in Ukrainian that has another meaning, state and me. But nevertheless, so DIA ecosystem has 5 different projects, which is DIA app, one of the probably most popular apps in Ukraine. There are more than 16 million users, so it's mainly documents in smartphone.
And the reason of the popularity is the services which are engaged in this app or anything else?
Absolutely. So you know that Ukraine, well, we've managed to introduce world's first digital IDs, which are full legal counterparts to the plastic and paper documents. So all the documents are now in your app, and there is like no need to use plastic or paper ones, and it is very, very useful in the lifetime in life.
Friendly and comfortable, everything in just one space, correct, yeah.
And also in the app, there are placed most popular services. For example, taxes and so on. Then the second project is state portal for public services, DIA, where more than 70 services are placed. So this is actually the portal where we planned to digitize all the services in 4 years. Then the project DIA Digital Education, which is a national program for digital literacy, which has two components: the National Educational Platform for Digital Literacy, and also the network of offline hubs to give an opportunity for people of elegant age to study digital literacy. DIA City, the first virtual business country, and DIA Business, the national project for the development of SMEs. So these are 5 main projects, everyone with its own goals, with its own target audience, with lots of achievements for these 2.5 years. And this is exactly why DIA is so popular among Ukrainian citizens.
Valeria, can I consider that DIA was a basement for something that would definitely cover all the 4 directions what you have identified for the Ministry of Digital Transformation in a way to implement and achieve all the goals and aims which were declared 2.5 years ago?
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So then, on this perspective, it's difficult to say that let's consider that we do not have war time at this period. How do you evaluate personally those aims and purpose of the ministry itself? Was it achieved or it was on its way to achieve? Because for 2.5 years, you were considered to implement everything within the 4 years. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
and so
right.
what was implemented and what remains as on the standby mode or under construction or things like that?
Yeah, as I've mentioned before, we were about very fast pace. So I would say that all of the benchmarks that were put to our team were achieved in this period of time. So when we are looking, for example, for DIA app, all of the plans were realized, were implemented. But it is also important to mention that last 2 years it was COVID-19, so
Yeah.
lots of services and lots of things we had to do like ad hoc solutions. And by the way, COVID-19 certificates, for example, were among the first recognized by the European Union, and they were placed in DIA app, in Ukrainian version. So I would definitely say that we have achieved everything we planned, and we were on the pace to achieve all the strategic goals.
Goals.
Yeah.
At the same time, within the ministry, you're covering EU direction. Am I right?
Yes.
Also, yes. Valeria, could you be so kind to describe more precisely? Is it a part that some Ukraine was moving to synchronize all its legal base, legislation, internal bylaws, and things like that through the ministry, which was coordinating within the ministry, within the government, all these procedures, and were you covering all the activities coming through EU to get closer to all those values, membership candidates, and all the other status remaining for now?
So our part is about digital single market. Like in Ukraine, there are deputy ministers for Euro integration in every ministry. So every deputy is responsible for its own part
I got you. So there is no centralized ministry of EU direction, but in all the ministries there are just at least one person, as a deputy minister, who is responsible for EU.
You're almost right.
Yeah.
So the deputies with their teams, there is no ministry, but we do have a vice prime minister for Euro integration with her office for Euro integration. So she is coordinating all of the activities and all of the plans and all of the projects which are in progress.
Tell me about the team and about the Ministry of Digital Transformation after 24th of February. How everything was transformed. I hope the team and team members, their families, they feel safe, and I hope they are all well, including the ministry which was identified within the new government of Ukraine as one of the most, reformative and progressive body of the government. So tell me a bit more how you guys are doing nowadays.
Yes, thanks for the question. Well, maybe it would be better, first of all, to explain more about our team. So we do have the Minister of Digital Transformation, who is also the Vice Prime Minister. He has the status because he also coordinates the activity on digital transformation that happens both on national level in different ministries and state agencies, state governmental agencies, and on regional level. So 2 years ago, we had a new position in the government, which is called CDTO, Chief Digital Transformation Officer. And now those CDTOs are working in different state institutions. They are responsible for digitalization of different spheres. Let's say CDTO in the Ministry of Education is responsible for educational sphere, healthcare, infrastructure, and so on. So our minister is Vice Prime Minister because he coordinates all of the other activities. We also have a great, very, very strong team of deputies, I would say. I am really honored to be a part of this team, and now I'm smiling because I really miss them a lot when remembering. So the majority of my colleagues, deputies, they came from business. They never were, service members.
Part of the governmental agencies, those things like that, never worked for administration. They are just
founders of business, startuppers, and so I think this is one of keys of the success of our ministry.
Definitely advantage, Valeria.
Yes, and every deputy is responsible for a different direction and for one goal, and that makes the management more effective and more strict because what are you responsible for, what are you working for. Speaking about the February 24th, well, I think it was shocking for everyone. I was breastfeeding my 2-month baby when I've heard in the morning the bombs. I didn't realize what was happening. Like I understood that there might be such a scenario, but I think that no one believed till the end that it really might happen. So yes, so like the first calls were to the family, of course, and the second ones were to the team, and this was made by every deputy to call to our team to organize the safe place, the secure place for them and their families, and also to understand how we should rearrange our work and how we should work remotely. So it took a couple of days to fix all of these questions, but generally we have been in touch all the time during the 24th and 25th of February until we've fixed all these issues. And it's pretty ironically, but the process of digitalization continues even under constant bombs and missile attacks.
How is that? Tell me a bit more. That it's still in process, you're saying, please.
Right.
And
Yes.
it's installation, I mean, all the works are happening and done?
Yes, like we've starting from the 24th of February, we have launched a couple of new services and products. For example, donation to the army through DIA app, then e-document, and an additional ID card for citizens, because lots of people had to evacuate and lots of people forgot their passports at home, or they did not have the DIA before. So we have done this e-document for them. Then we have launched DIA TV and DIA Radio. So with in the app, so citizens always have an access to a credible news source. Then we have launched another service, which is financial assistance. The service is called eSupport. So people who evacuated, they receive financial support from government, and they can apply in DIA app for this support to give this financial support. Sorry, sorry. For this.
Correct me if I am wrong. During this period, while following up all the previous tasks and the agenda, what MDT used to have before, at the same time, you guys are reaching some various connections with some engagement. Your minister, same Vice Prime Minister, as far as I know, he was personally in charge with the connection with also Elon Musk and other, other giants of the tech, with whom was also personal connection coming from President Zelensky as well. And after that, what we see, Valeria, is that there were also few deliveries coming from company on behalf of Mr. Musk. I'm talking about Starlink equipment, which was delivered to you a few times. How it's working? Can you share some? Our internet connection is fine. It's Starlink or it's something else?
Yes, so like lots of questions in one. So first of all, I would say that basically we push big tech companies to impose corporate sanctions on Russia. We do it with the help of digital technologies, like with social media, like Twitter and so on. Modern war requires modern solutions, I would say. We have to block Russia in every possible way. For us now, the world is divided into black and white, and we really want everyone to understand it. We are convinced that if a business chooses to cooperate with Russia, it chooses the dark side. It automatically supports blood, death of Ukrainian children, and total destruction. So we expect responsible companies to support us, and mostly they do it. To date, we have approached more than 500 tech companies, and this figure grows every day. And regarding the successes, I would say that it really depends. Some businesses have shown significant support and position by stopping all kinds of operations in Russia and donating huge amounts to Ukrainian funds for army or humanitarian needs. But some of the companies, they still try to act like a gray zone, declaring to stop business in Russia. And then it turns out that they still sell their products.
They still operate in Russia.
Yes, and other companies try to ignore and stay silent as much as possible. But it's really not the time to be silent. Today,
but
you
at
have.
the same time, can you consider them as they're definitely in minority, Valeria? Correct?
Yes, they are in minority, but there are like big corporations with names. Mm-hmm.
Big names.
With big names, yes. But we are still working, and we won't stop till Russian market is empty of international business. Speaking about another question about personal connections, I'm sure you can see them all in Twitter. We, both the president and our vice prime minister, they are communicating to the world of what we are doing, who are we communicating with. We always say thank you to our partners for the support that we receive from them. You have mentioned the SpaceX and Elon Musk. We really appreciate a lot their support and their donation with the Starlinks, which now are used in our critical infrastructure on the national, on regional level. So it is really it is a big help for Ukraine right now. Russia is trying to destroy our telecommunications infrastructure in order to leave the territory of Ukraine without communication, without mobile coverage, without radio and television broadcasts. There are some problems with the internet connection, mostly where the military operations are most active. For example, in the Kyiv region, these are Irpin, Bucha, Gostomel, Vorzel, not always high quality connections in Kharkiv, Kherson, Chernihiv region, in Melitopol and Mariupol, the connection is minimal. Now all telecom operators and relevant state bodies have united with one goal to ensure that mobile and fixed communications remain at the highest possible quality level. And I want to say that our specialists involved in rebuilding damaged infrastructure are real heroes. They do work and restore everything very quickly, even though it is very risky. Thousands of Starlink terminals operate where there are problems and in remote areas. And it also helps, as I've mentioned, in critical infrastructure, like, for example, hospitals and others, and other institutions.
Valeria, you mentioned about various local businesses who are naturally engaged in the process. We're talking about big tech names, international and global players. At the same time, can you tell me a bit more about local Ukrainian companies? How do they do after 24th of February? There were a big competition. It was some political attitude. They were engaged with some other political forces. How they are doing right nowadays? Where do they stand? They are part of the common agenda, or there are still some misunderstandings? As you absolutely rightly mentioned, this so-called gray attitude, where everybody is trying to find golden medium, which does not really exist in such a situation.
No, we Ukrainians, we always stand together. So when we are speaking about local companies, IT companies, big companies, or SMEs, or even startups, we are working like, one mechanism.
Alongside.
So alongside, you're right. So there are companies, there are people. Everyone helps in the way that they can. Someone can help with donations to the army. Someone help to restore the economy of Ukraine, by keeping working and paying taxes and so on. Of course, I say that I would say that all of the companies, all of the Ukrainian companies are 100% pro-Ukrainian. And if let's say someone needs help, one call to any company, or even not to a company, to a person, and you will get this help that you're needed. Yes.
Okay. Now my final question goes, Valeria, definitely to the following. Ministry, MDT today, is it with a proper agenda? Can we deliver the message? We can see how government is operating on the daily basis through social networks and things like that. How has changed your routine after 24th of February? I'm talking about during the wartime. Is it constantly changing because the aims are changing, the contacts are constantly changing, the list is getting bigger, sometimes smaller, with whom you should coordinate? At the same time, I'm so happy for Ukrainian solidarity. I'm talking about business solidarity at the same time. But for today, what is the main aim of MDT, which should be achieved, where we also can be useful as a part of regional business community to you?
The main aim of MDT is the same as the main aim of all of Ukrainians, is to win the war as soon as possible.
You will win this war.
We definitely will. We are doing everything what is possible and impossible to do this. So that is why the agenda of MDT is mainly ad hoc. So when we see the challenge, when we see something where our help is needed, we are there. However, we do not forget about our strategic goals, and we are still trying to keep working on them. For example, by again internet coverage, or for example, education. Education process still continues, so we are still doing the projects that we planned, but we are doing them faster with the help of our partners. So I'm sure that when the war will end with our victory, we will already have we will already achieve those goals that we have planned for 4 years, or we will be very near to that goal.
I'm more than sure. Valeria Yon, Deputy Minister of Digital Transformation of Ukraine. Valeria, through this video message and our conversation for 25 minutes, please pass my best wishes and all the best. God bless you all and your family. Stay safe, and yes, we'll definitely win. We will definitely win this war.
Thank you for your support.
Let's keep in touch. Consider you have family and friends here, so always count on us, please. God bless you. Bye.
Thank you.
The Checkpoint is presented by GM Pharma, the first international multinational pharmaceutical company in Georgia. GM Pharma, to serve those who need it most.